Welcome back, guys. I'm your host, Odessa, Amaris. How you doing today, you beautiful souls? I'm doing fantastic. So today's video is going to be a little different than what you're used to seeing. I want to give a history lesson on where my username came from and a little bit of my past usernames. So let's dive into that, shall we? So my first username ever was Lady Anime Freak, due to the fact that I was massively bullied in middle school for liking anime and video games. You know, girls shouldn't like that sort of thing. That's for boys and everything. You know, frustration aside with that, I eventually just went as Lady Anime Freak. And my console name online was that for the longest time. I did have it on YouTube for a really short time. And then eventually when Kingdom Hearts became a thing, I fell in love with the character Kairi. And so I went by Keyblade Kairi 2010. And that is when my career started, was because of Keyblade Kairi 2010. It's when I decided I was going to become an influencer, if you will. And that is why Kairi sits on my microphone to remind everybody where I came from and to remind myself where I also came from as well. I also in high school was a little bit of a writer. I chose to, I'm trying to figure out how to word this correctly. I chose to write my problems when I was younger. I was very bullied in middle school and in high school for a very long time, and my home life was not the best. I'm not going to get into too much detail about that. Maybe one day I will, but right now I'm just going to leave it at that. So I would write and write and write, and eventually I would tell stories. At first it was about myself, and then I turned it into just a character whose name was constantly changing. And this was when my family didn't like me playing video games, and I had to hide it from my family. And this was also when I had to hide watching my shows, had to hide reading the manga and everything, and secretly give my friends money to literally buy me the next manga to my series, and I hid that. I still have some of that to this day that I managed to take with me when I left that situation. And, but my escape used to be video games. And then eventually it became writing because my family banned any of that sort of thing in the house. And so I just write, and I would listen to music, and I would just write and write and write. This character went by so many names at the time, and I can't keep them all together. I still have some of my writings, but they're so faded that you can barely read them, and they're kind of chicken scratch. My handwriting was not the best, but I still have some of that. And one day, I hope to eventually burn that side of me one day, because they're very dark stories, very dark stories. You can guess what I wrote about and everything. I'm not going to go into full detail about that, but eventually I dove into YouTube a little bit more and decided to watch people create CMVs and AMVs, cosplay music videos and animated music videos, for those of you that don't know. And I fell in love with that, and I wanted to do that, and I wanted to create stuff, and it made me fall in love with cosplay even more. This is back when you had to literally make all your stuff. It's nowadays cosplay is like you can either make it or you can buy it now and all of that. But back when I was young, you know, and you didn't have any of that. You had to make it yourself. or get lucky and maybe find maybe a bit of a small store that you had to really do research on just to find cosplay stuff. But I wasn't able to do that. So, because of my family and everything. But eventually I found my friends that stuck up for me and dealt with a lot of my bullies, which I'm still grateful to this day, and I am still friends with some of them to this day as well. Which made my life a little bit better. And me and my friend were sitting there and we're talking, and she saw me one time around writing in one of my journals. And she's all like, this is kind of interesting, and all of that, because I would just, she would just ask what I was writing about. And I'm like, here you go. I didn't really have a name for the character whatsoever at the time. It was always constantly changing. And she asked if she could do some artwork or whatever for me. And I said, yeah, that'd be cool. So there was an old artwork of the character. I might have that one. If I do have it, I'll put it up here. So that's what she kind of looked like. I think I still have it. I hope I do. And then eventually another friend of mine came up with artwork on IMVU. And I still have those ones to this day because she took pictures of her. And then I came up with the name because of the fact that I loved Greek mythology. This was back when I was somewhat getting into the Greek mythology stories and stuff like that from books and all of that. And I liked the name Odysseus. I loved the name Odysseus. I don't know why. It just rolled off the tongue really nicely to me, and I fell in love with it. And I wanted a feminine name for my character and all of that. And I don't know if it was when we were going through names on a name software website, because you have those websites for like D&D and all of that. Like if you need a name generator, you could have one and all of that. I don't know if I came across it and it just stuck in my brain, or if I randomly just rearranged the letters of Odysseus's name and came up with the name Odessa. Amaris, the last name, was a bit tricky because I played around with her last name for a long time. And it was really frustrating to come up with a lunar name because I loved the moon phases. I love the moon. I love the night sky. When I was younger, when my family did go on trips and all of that, we would drive, and all I wanted to do was lean up against the car window and just look at the stars and the moon and the sky. And I loved it. When it was nicer outside, I would even go and lay in the grass and just look up at the sky. So I loved that. I loved it so much that I wanted to implement that into my character's name. Now, for a long time, it was Odessa Night. Then it was Odessa Moon. And I think my friend and I, when we were doing another name generator type situation, I think we came across Amaris. Now, she pronounces it Amara, and we also, in the book that we are somewhat creating, the goddess that we made, her name is Amara. But I liked saying it the way how I pronounce it now, which is Amaris. I don't know why. That's just how I like pronouncing it, and I'm pretty sure that's how I thought it was pronounced. And, she's like, no, it's actually Amara, but if you like it that way for your character, do it for that character or whatever. You can pronounce it however you want. It's your character. But we loved the name so much that we gave it to a moon goddess for our book, Amara. So eventually I just started writing about Odessa even more, and Odessa had a darker half at one point in time, and it was just her evil side. Whenever she got beaten up or whenever she got into trouble or things happen to Odessa, she would have this darker half come out and whoop some butt, you know. And I just wrote about her, and that was my way of like taking back my power over myself a little bit because I was bullied so much. And you know, my friends that were with me and all of that encouraged that, you know, instead of other things and all of that. And I wrote about it and everything, and it made me feel better. It made me have more power over who I was as a person, and it made me feel in control of something in my darn life. Odessa got me through a lot of shit. A lot of shit. I owe that character so much. Trying not to get too emotional about it. And I'm going through counseling and everything, so we're getting there. We're getting there. And maybe one day, like I said, I'll tell my story fully. But for now, I need to work on some things still. But anyways, but then eventually, my friend told me that, you know, she seemed like a character that was completely all her own, and I was like, what do you mean? And she's all like, well, let me do some artwork on IMVU again and see what you think. And she made like this little slideshow video, and I have no idea where that slideshow video is whatsoever. Unfortunately, I think that video is like lost to time, or it might be on her page still. I don't know. But I still have pictures of those imagery, and I'll show them here. I know I do, and everything. And I loved it so much that she basically became a character of her own, Katerina Lazarus. And I was all like, oh my god. Now, Katerina also had an alternate last name, Katerina Horrorfang, because, you know, I'm a vampire and I was so into vampires at the time, like crazy. And over time, she became Odessa's villain and everything. And I was all like, yeah, I love it. You know, I freaking love this character and everything. She's crazy. She's nuts. And then over time, my character's model would change all the time and everything up to where where my characters look what they are today. And then eventually I got into cosplay even more so than I already was by watching CMV's cosplay music videos and all of that. I got into more cosplay, and once I moved out of my family's house, I was able to do more cosplay stuff and everything else and all of that, and wanting to do those types of videos, but then, you know, the whole copyright system and all of that. But anyways, to get back on topic, we just created random ass videos and all of that were very, very terrible at the time, and one of them was in my family's house at the time. And I loved it. I loved being part of creating things, and, you know, I don't know. I latched on to creating things for YouTube, and I loved it. And then my friend introduced me in 2012 to cons. And I was like, oh my god, I don't have to just do videos anymore. I could literally perform on stage and all of that in front of people. And in the beginning, I was kind of shy and not okay. It was where I really blossomed. It was where I really, really blossomed in my life. I felt like I had not only a purpose for my life, to share some of my videos, but also a purpose for creating things and all of that. And it turned my life around very fast and everything. And eventually I created another character, which you probably have seen. And his name was Kyrian. His original name was Cade, and then I didn't like the name. I don't know why. I use it as his alias name now. Whenever he's like undercover or whatever, his name is Cade. And then eventually I came up with Kyrian. Lazarus was originally my friend's last name for her character, but I fell in love with it, and she just decided, she's like, you know what, just have it. I don't remember the full conversation, but yeah, she's like, nah, you know what, it's fine. It kind of sounds good with the names. So, but Kyrian was supposed to be Katarina's male counterpart. You know, you have a female version, you have a male version of the character. But eventually, just like all the other characters, he became his own character in himself. And you can literally see that in my TikTok videos. The shift of where he became my drag persona to his own character. I still use him as a drag character from time to time. So, you know, there's like a balance between when he is in book character form and when he's in drag form. It's kind of like up in the air when I do those types of videos, and it always keeps you guessing of what's part of the book and what's not part of the book. So, you know, but in 2021, I decided to change my name. Now, in the beginning, this is why I'm telling you all the characters' names right now. Now, in the beginning, I wasn't sure what name I wanted to do, what name I wanted to use for my channel, because I had Katarina Lazarus, who was my villain. I had Odessa, who was my witch and my person who got me through a lot of bad times in my life. And I also had Kyrian, who was my male persona and also my sibling character to Katarina, because, you know, that's how they became siblings, is because, you know, putting them in the same book. And he's my soft boy, a little bit of my evil boy at times too. You can see that in my videos as well. But anyways, that was also when I realized that I was gender fluid as well. And I was all like, what name? And like, when I was talking with my friend, I was like, what name has the most meaning to me? What name should I personalize for myself, since I want to make this channel almost like a business, if you will. Eventually, I want to, and I hope to, be entertaining for those around me, just like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye and quite a few other people that I watched. And the reason why I wanted to do it is because I wanted to show that just because you have ADHD and a disability, and you're autistic and you have dyslexia, doesn't mean that you can't do things in the world just like everybody else. You just do things a little differently. You do things that may be a little bit weird. You know, for the longest time, I would mask a lot of my stuff. And over time, living on my own, I eventually stopped doing that. And I became more with myself and one with myself. And the more we talked about it, the more we settled on Odessa. My friend sat there and she's all like, you know, this character means so much to you. This character got you through hell and back. You know, even though you changed the name numerous times and you didn't settle on a name until about almost high school. Like I was just getting into high school when I finally settled on Odessa's name. And I enjoyed it so much. of her getting me through so much crap that's what I decided my new name was going to be for the channel. It was no longer Keyblade Kyrie 2010. I wasn't leaning on somebody else's work, if you will, which is still a fantastic work and I highly recommend it. It was also the work that got me through a lot of hell and back when I was able to play video games. And same thing with my Naruto anime. That also got me through hell and back. It's why I always say if I ever got to meet the creator or the voice actor of Naruto, I would cry. And if I ever got to meet the creator of Kingdom Hearts, I would also cry because they also saved my life along with this character that I made. And that's when I decided that my username was no longer... It was like closing a chapter in my book, if you will. A chapter in my life. Like, yes, this got me through a lot. And yes, these characters that I created got me through a lot as well. But it was time to settle in to me, to who I was as a person. And that's when I decided to change my name and come out to you guys and say, hey, we are changing the channel name and all of that. But now you know the full history of not just my username, but a little bit of where Odessa came from and where my drag persona came from as well, because since I'm gender fluid, I do both Katarina and Kyrian on stage from time to time. I don't perform as much anymore due to reasons that I don't know if I'll get into that horror story. Maybe I will one of these days because it's been several years since we had that beef happen with that community, but maybe one day I'll tell that one as well. But now you know where my name came from and where it all started and everything. Eventually, though, after I decided to come up with my username permanently to be Odessa Amaris, because I don't think I'm going to ever change it. We'll see. I might, but who knows? But eventually, apparently, and I did not know this until one of my friends messaged me and sent me a picture saying, "Hey, we're driving by you right now," and I was like, "What?" And they sent me a picture of a sign that says Odessa, Texas, and I was like, I didn't even know that even existed. You know, I was like, that's kind of funny. And it's spelled just like how my name is spelled, which is kind of hilarious. And then we found out about there's an alcohol drink that is also named Odessa as well. And my friends sent me that, and they're like, look, I found you on a bottle. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what else can I find? Like, what other people are going to find my name on that is interesting or wild, you know? But yeah, I still have some of my older videos up of me going by Keyblade Kyrie 2010. It's why you see in my bio, it literally says, welcome to Odessa Amaris, aka Keyblade Kyrie 2010, because I used to go by that name. So, but yeah, that is the history, and I'm sure I'll have probably maybe some more odd moments of my name floating around and everything. So, but yeah, I wanted to give that story to you guys and also have this on my history of my channel as well. So, without further ado, that's pretty much it and everything. You got to hear my character stories, how I came up with them, and yeah, so that's pretty much it. I know I kind of rambled and went off on tangents a little bit. That's part of my ADHD a little bit, but I wanted you to know the history of my characters and my username. So, without further ado, I'm your host, Odessa Amaris, signing out. Game on gamers, cosplay on cosplayers. Be safe, everybody. I love you guys, and we'll see you with our regular scheduled videos and all of that. Enjoy my gameplay, and if you haven't seen any of my other gameplay, please do so. or any of my other videos. I do more than just video games on here, but it's mostly what I mostly post on here. But once in a great while, you'll see cosplay or other things. And if you want to follow me even more on my other social media platforms, including my Twitch and all of that, you're more than welcome to find all of that in the lovely link tree in the description box or in my bio. There's all of my pages that I am a part of up there. I made it super easy. All my usernames are under the same name, so it's not too hard to find me. But yeah, so thank you guys so much. I'm your host, Odessa, Amaris, signing out. Game on gamers, cosplay on cosplayers. Be safe, everybody. Love you guys. Bye! And thank you for hearing my story of where I came up with my username.